Hello. Is it okay? Sound? Hello.
Mess up the way that we had done others. That's a different, oh my goodness. So that's a different topic. My apologies. I was somewhat waiting to have a press conference at two, but I will.
Thank you.
Hang in there.
So very good afternoon. So I would like to invite all of you, please settle down. Hello. Is this okay? Sound? Sound. Hello. Yeah. So, so I would like to welcome the panelists on stage. So I would like to invite Mr. Bob Tansey, Senior Policy Advisor, China and Global Policy Lead, Degraded Lands and Restoration, the Nature Conservancy. Please, Mr. Bob, can you come on the stage? Our next speaker is Dr. Kakoli Ghosh, Chief Technical Advisor from Sustainable Rural Agriculture Development Program, FAO, Saudi Arabia. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Victor Afari Sefa to please join us. Dr. Victor is Global Research Program Director, Enabling Systems Transformation, International Crop Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics, ICRISAT. So, very good afternoon to all of you. I'm your moderator for this session. The session is around Convergence Model for Nutrition Sensitive Agriculture, building sustainable agri-food systems for healthier communities. Thank you all for taking out time and coming here. And also very good afternoon to all the online viewers who are watching us live. So before starting the session, I would like to take you through the objectives of this panel discussion today. We would like to highlight the implementation of convergence model, which we implemented in Telangana, one of the state in India. Then we would also like to demonstrate how this convergence model integrates key local players and stakeholders, including FPOs and self-help groups and women, youth-led enterprises, and local government programs to create self-sustainable ecosystem. We would also discuss environmental benefits of promotion of drought-resilient crops like millet and how it is going to solve the problem of how it can reduce the risk of soil erosion and also support land sustainability in regions prone to desertification. So to give you a context of this session, I will run through one presentation. The topic of the presentation is Convergence Model, Catalyzing Rural Transformation and Nutrition Sensitive Agri-Food Systems through Sustainable Entrepreneurship. Yeah, thank you. So before starting, we would like to brief you about what agri-sat stands for, right? So we were founded in 1972, and it was founded as a consortium of several countries and partners. We are headquartered in Hyderabad in India. It was established with the vision of addressing challenges faced by farmers in the semi-arid regions, where agriculture is particularly vulnerable to climate variability and water scarcity. We are a not-profit agriculture research organization that focuses on improving livelihoods of smallholder farmers in the semi-arid topics. Our mission is to address food security, reducing poverty, and promoting sustainable agriculture development. Our focus area is on crop improvement, watershed management, agroforestry, social economics, dissemination of knowledge. The approach is to develop improved crop varieties, sustainable farming practices, integration of cutting-edge technologies. So I would like to brief you briefly about what Agribusiness Innovation Platform is all about. As I am Dr. Dinesh Chauhan, CEO and head of this particular Agribusiness Innovation Platform. This is one of the youngest platform which is created. We are just 20 years old, and which is the first incubation platform formed in India. And this is a unique platform if you talk about the entire CGIAR system. The vision of the platform is to enhance agriculture development in dryland topics through entrepreneurship, innovation, and partnerships. The mission is to create, leverage, and aggregate programs and services, entrepreneurship development, innovation, and value addition, and promotion of agribusinesses for accelerated agricultural growth in dry lands. AIP consists of four verticals typically. The number one is agribusiness incubator. Then we have innovation and partnership platform. We have NutriPlus knowledge program. And there is a fourth vertical, which is intellectual property facilitation cell, which is IPFC. ABI, under ABI, basically as an incubator, we work around technology development and commercialization, funding, consultancy, mentoring, and entrepreneurship support. Under innovation and partnership program, we work around strategic partnerships, co-create institutional innovation models, collaborative research, rural development. We have another unique program as a NutriPlus knowledge program, where we focus on product development, we focus on value addition and promoting entrepreneurship, we focus on training and capacity building. IPFC cell helps us in IP production, it helps in IP advisory, and also technology transfer interface. So now coming back to what is the convergence model and how it works around. So we focus on three pillars, which is agriculture, entrepreneurship, and nutrition. So on the one hand, agriculture leverages agriculture research and community engagement to promote adoption of modern farming techniques. We also work around through entrepreneurship. We promote entrepreneurship, even local women self-help groups and youth through establishment and hand-holding of agri and food processing unit. Thereafter, we also work around, these units work around health and wellness among vulnerable populations to address malnutrition through development of nutrient-dense food products. So the objective is to enhance livelihood and socioeconomic level in the communities, improve nutrition and food security for vulnerable population, promote entrepreneurship through agro-processing enterprise. So the core components of this convergence model is local solution, promote local production, promote local processing and consumption to encourage circular economies. Capacity building, we do capacity building, train the farmers, entrepreneurs, and communities on modern agriculture and business skills. Then we work around market linkages, connect farmers, agro processors, and school feeding programs for long-term impact and sustainability. So why convergence is important? So convergence is important because we have seen that rural communities face a lot of challenges, right? There is a lack of knowledge among farmers on modern agriculture technologies and optimal use of resources. There has been an increase in climate change, low cultivation of nutrient-rich crops, lack of financial literacy and business training, insufficient support for scaling agro enterprises, high prevalence of malnutrition and hidden hunger, limited awareness about balanced and nutritious diet, dependence on calorie-dense but nutrient-poor staples. So ICRISAT's solution on innovative framework to address these complex challenges in agriculture employment and nutrition is what? We have a solution for it, and that we call it as a convergence model. We have pioneered in this convergence model. It is a framework where research policy and community actions intersect. This model drives nutrition-sensitive agriculture and rural transformation. So I will quickly run through briefly some of the intervention which we did, which benefited rural communities. So the first intervention we did was capacity building and training on good agriculture practices and business management for tribal farmers in Telangana. So Telangana is a state in southern part of India where we did this project. And what was the outcome of this project was that we equipped 2,000 plus farmers with simple, affordable technologies to reduce cultivation cost, adopt best practices, and implement post-harvest techniques, resulting in improved yield and increased income. The second intervention was like transforming tribal community groups into strategic business enterprises, a new paradigm for inclusive growth of tribal groups in the areas of Telangana, India, with the help of establishment and hand-holding of women-led food processing units. The outcome was we created 9 licensed food processing units, which were established in the state, and enhanced entrepreneurial skills of more than 250 tribal women and youth. So these were the tribal women and youth we created as an entrepreneur. There was livelihood opportunities for more than 100 tribal women, provided employment opportunities for more than 500 plus tribal women and youth. Then there was a fourth intervention, which we did with the name of Giri Poshna. It is an innovative approach for improved nutrition among tribals in Telangana state. The outcome was enhanced dietary diversity through access to affordable and nutritious millet pulse groundnut-based food products for 35,000 beneficiaries, improvement in health and nutritional status among children. The wasting was 57% decreased, stunting was found decreased by 85%, and then underweight was found like 79% decrease, and anemia around 66% decrease. And among pregnant and lactating mothers, there was like decrease in 47.5%. So all these initiatives which we did have promoted inclusiveness of local tribal communities, tribal farmers in the value chains, ensuring sustainable demand pull for local produce and increased job opportunities and enhanced nutrient-dense food in the rural communities. Some of the key success matrices, as you can see, in agriculture, more than 2,000 farmers were trained. Entrepreneurship, we see that more than 500 jobs created, 250 plus exposure for women on entrepreneurship. We created more than 9 millet-based, ready-to-eat and ready-to-cook processing units were established. 35,000 beneficiaries received nutrient-dense food. So ICRI sat as a bridge between stakeholders, farmers, entrepreneurs, private sector entities, policymaker and international organization under shared mission to advance nutrition-sensitive agriculture and rural transformation. We have worked with collaboration with donors and international agencies. Partnership with donors like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, USAID, and FAO has enabled promoting climate resilient farming techniques and sustainable food systems to combat hunger and poverty. We have been doing engagement with state governments, like we engage with state government in India, like example in Telangana and Odisha are the states where we engage with the state government and government of India, which have led to the establishment of agro processing hubs. So you see the partnership with state government has played a very critical role. Similarly, with private sector alliances. So we partnered with Walmart Foundation in India, and we did a program in one of the states, one of the districts in states of Andhra Pradesh, where we, with the support of Walmart Foundation, we created a similar kind of a model for uh, for creating entrepreneurship in that local communities. Then driven development, multi-stakeholder collaboration of all these multi-stakeholder ensures community engagement remains central, stimulating ownership and sustainability of initiatives. So collaboration between various donors, government, farmer collectives, national and international institutes yielded the following benefits to the rural communities. What were those benefits? So these benefits were empowerment of farmer collectives. The women and youth were empowered. Access to global expertise. So we brought in global expertise to all these tribal communities who were not able to access those technologies. There was an improvement in livelihood, nutrition and sustainability, enhanced policy support, and integrated solutions. So we are looking for partnerships through these programs, right? So this is a model where agriculture development, entrepreneurship, and enhancing nutrition. This leads to food and nutritional security, agri-food system sustainability, circular economy growth, and local stakeholder engagement. The conversion model success, its potential for scaling, and its contribution to resilient, sustainable agri-food systems that align with COP16's goal of sustainable land management and resilient agriculture practices. So here in this slide, we can see the convergence model, how it happened. So we trained more than this picture can show you that more than 2,000 farmers which were trained. This is an image of a food processing unit which was set up. And then we can see that we are having a community level nutrition intervention for supplying of nutrition food product through community feeding centers to government programs. So this is how a typical convergence model works. So there is a value chain approach where we can see ICRISAT as a knowledge and technical partner. We are also the center of excellence in tribal affairs. We do the product manufacturing, and we did the baseline survey of the work which we did on the ground, and also we did the end line survey, which the results will be shown. We worked closely with tribal community, and then you can see that this was done through Ministry of Women and Health Development and Department of Tribal Welfares. The work was done for 3 ITDAs, Integrated Tribal Development Agencies, in 3 districts. Girijan Cooperative Corporation Limited, and the product was supplied to Anganwadi Center, which was created. And through these Anganwadi centers, the product was given to pregnant women, lactating women, and children below the age of 3 to 6 years. So the capacity building for the tribal farmers was done through exposure visit and study tours. The outcome was empowered women and youth participation in entrepreneurial ecosystem. So if we talk about the other project, this was a unique project where we set up processing unit of Telangana, transforming tribal community groups into strategic business enterprises, a new paradigm for inclusive growth of tribal groups in the areas of Telangana, India. So what was the intervention? As I told you, we established FSSAI licensed 9 food processing unit in ITDAs for empowering women and youth. So these were the products which were developed in these processing units. So we created dry mix, which was ready to cook, jowar meal or multigrain meal, which was ready to cook. And this product was developed by Agribusiness Innovation Platform Center. Then we also set up a chikki processing unit at 2 of the places, Utnur and Paloncha. There was also a dal mill was established. The pulses like red gram, green gram, Bengal gram, at Kauthaguda in Telangana. We also did the training and capacity building of tribal women on food safety and unit management, hand-holding and mentoring to create sustainable business opportunities. So you can see the interventions which we did and how we enabled the tribal population for manufacturing these products. The products from these centers which were manufactured were supplied to the community centers. And the outcome was the employment generation and enhanced livelihood. This project was done in the from period of 2019 to 2021. So these were in the map you can see the 3 districts and how it impacted. So you can see that the monthly income of women entrepreneurs increased 3 times. So this was the impact which we created. This is about the Giri Poshna project which we mentioned. So these are some of the products which were developed. You can see the beneficiaries were children, adolescent girls, pregnant women, lactating mothers. The formulations were from the local crops, which I mentioned earlier, sorghum, millet, and pulses. And we validated scientifically the nutritional profile of these products. And these products provide supplementary balanced nutrition. And it also boosts immunity. The beneficiaries were 35,000 people. And these are the project locations in Telangana. You can see in the map over there. The outcome was access to healthy food, improved dietary diversity, and improvement in health indicators. So you can see we did a study and on that in the 10% beneficiaries for these programs. And we also did the impact assessment through baseline, midline, and endline survey. The survey included measurement of height, weight, and mid-upper arm circumference. For hemoglobin, we used a non-invasive device because we are not supposed to do the invasive methodology. So this was the impact on the Giri Poshna project on the health status of the beneficiaries. So the nutritional status of 35,000 tribal beneficiaries was enhanced. And we can see the stunting, wasting, underweight, and anemia, all these things, there was significant decrease. So the key learnings from the conversion model which we implemented on the ground was that we saw that there was under implementation, we saw that there was infrastructure gap. There was a gap in storage and transportation of food products to the interior of the tribal communities was really a challenging thing. The beneficiaries' attendance regularly to these centers was again another challenge which we found. We found that there was a marginalized population scaling up impacts to various, especially developing countries. Ready-to-eat food products are more acceptable by consumers. So this was the finding and learning from this model. And we also found that the sweeter products were more acceptable to the communities, right? And the recognition was like ICRI said was from this project. What happened? We were recognized as the Center of Excellence for Tribal Development. So this was the background for today's discussion. And we invited some of the eminent speakers from this area to join us. And we will be now beginning with our actual panel discussion. This will be a moderated panel discussion. And I would like to invite the speakers to please join us on the dais, on the stage. So I have a pleasure to invite Dr. Victor, Dr. Kakoli, and Mr. Bob to please join us on the stage. Right. So we will be, I will be asking some of the questions. So before coming to the, please, Dr. Kakoli and Mr. Bob. So, before starting this moderated session, I would quickly like speakers to introduce themselves briefly about what they have been doing for the audience, for the benefit of all. Yeah. So maybe we can start with Dr. Victor. Yeah. Can we have a mic, please? Can we have a mic? Okay. Wired.
All right. Thank you, Dinish, for the overview presentation. My name is Victor Afarisefa. I am by training an impact assessment economist, and at ICRISAT, I lead one of the 3 global research programs called Enabling Systems Transformation, which is basically all the soft sciences, capacity building. It includes markets, institutions, and policies. It includes agribusiness incubation platform that Danish talked about, as well as nutrition, dietary behavior, and smart foods. And then also we look at our Dryland Academy, which is a one-stop shop for capacity building needs. And finally, also the technology adoption and impact assessment. So I'm happy to be here and to interact with you on this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning. Salam alaikum. Do you hear me?
Why there is the voice?
Hello? Hello? Okay. Okay. Very good morning to everyone. Salam alaikum. My name is Kakoli Ghosh, and I am a Chief Technical Advisor here for the Sustainable Rural Agriculture Development Program of Saudi Arabia. So as a person, I am a trained biotechnologist and a geneticist, and then turned into a development person. I have been working with FAO for over 25 years now, mainly looking at sustainable agriculture production, crop genetic diversity, and rural agriculture development. And in this program here, we have a group which is looking at how to bring about agri-food systems transformation within the rural community of Saudi Arabia. Now, the thing is, not many people are aware of the rural situation of Saudi Arabia because there has never been much discussion or even an interest in that area. You will be surprised to know that there is a very substantial rural region here, people who are working in the farms. They are looking at not only just dates, lots of fruit trees, lots of production of millets, different types of millets, and more importantly about the livestock. There is a huge concentration of livestock, and Saudi Arabia is a very big country. Across the country, mainly sheep, goat, and camel. So that's the rural part of it. Together with that, fishermen. fishermen, all fisher folks, because of the vast access to the sea on both sides of the country. There's also a very good number of rural fisher folks who are working across for that livelihoods. Beyond that, I have also learned that there is an enormous potential here for agri-food systems transformation because of the Saudi Vision 2030. There is a hunger for change. People are looking at innovations, transformations, new ideas, new technologies, at the same time trying to manage the natural resources. As you know, water scarcity is the top problem here, but at the same time, there is land degradation, desertification. So all this together, just to say that this is a big program where we are looking at that confluence and how to improve the rural livelihoods, give and take these areas that we are talking about. We'll talk about it a bit more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Bob.
Thank you. I'll introduce myself and offer some initial observations, thoughts. So my name is Bob Tansey. I'm with the Nature Conservancy. I'm a policy advisor, and I'm 73 years old. I think maybe I'll work full-time another 2 years. So I am a generalist. So a generalist, as the time goes on, knows less and less about more and more until someday I will know nothing about everything. So I love it that the professor invited me here. I feel like I'm learning so much, and I'm surrounded by specialists who know more and more about less and less. Sorry. So I was talking on the way in here today with my colleague. His name is Michael Doan. He's our global managing director for food and water systems, but he's also a farmer. And he experiments with his brothers on the family farm with regenerative methods. And we were talking again about healthy soil. So it seems like in your great work here, you've worked with the local people and you've helped enrich the soil. And because you enrich the soil, you can select the crop that has the right nutrition. And the epidemiological numbers, these are pretty impressive. And it seems kind of common sense that if you grow something in a sandbox where you dumped fertilizer and water, or you grow it in rich soil, it's common sense that what you grow in the rich soil is going to be more nutritious. The scientists are still proving this, but it's great to see how the different pieces come together here. And because we are experiencing climate change on top of all the already existing conditions, your model is so important because human beings have to decide, how do you help nature give us better growing conditions where you are, but how do you also decide under changing conditions, what do you grow where you are? And then ICRISAT is dealing with a major landscape type, right, in the world. So we, the Nature Conservancy, our scientists did about a 250-page report about foodscapes. And foodscapes are places with common biophysical characteristics. There's about 100 and different types. So here we are at this convening. This is the fourth in this series I've attended. And I'm hopeful we can come out of this convening bringing together the different types of finance and the best solutions and address different kinds of, shall we say, landscapes. So our hosts specialize in a particular landscape, but it's a big landscape type. It's super important. It's probably even more important now in the days of the changing climate. We ourselves, the Nature Conservancy, are very, very engaged here around emerging research and cases together with partners and collaborators around things like food systems, around grasslands and rangelands, nature-based solutions for drought. So, we've heard some encouraging announcements about financing for the mission of lands restoration and resilience. I think it's really a moment where we can take this kind of great, encouraging example, extrapolate to what does it mean in terms of larger conditions, and then try to collectively go to work to create the change that's needed in the world for our natural environment and for people. Thank you.
So very well said, Bob. I think, yeah, it's very critical and important to take this work to other places. So I would start with Dr. Kakoli. The first question is to you, that FAO plays a pivotal role in addressing global food security. So from your experience with the Sustainable Rural Agriculture Development Program, what are the key strategies that ensure rural communities align nutrition sensitive agriculture practices effectively? So what are the key strategies according to you?
Very big question. I am going to cut it down into small parts and we can discuss, and please intervene.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a question for all of us. So yes, FAO food security, just last year, the data is very, very alarming. We are declaring that the world is off track to reach the Sustainable Development Goal 2 of zero hunger by 2030. That's what the State of the World Food Agriculture Food Security has shown, because of the alarming increase, not just of food insecurity. It is the combination or the convergence of various other factors, like we just heard, climate change, there is desertification, malnutrition, and the nexus with all this with migration of the economically deprived people moving different parts. So this is more than a challenge. This is something that is staring at us at our face. And FAO strategy for this has been to not look at just a particular system, particular point of food security, but at the broader landscape. So looking at it from the farm to the fork and then to the waste management. So that is what we call the agri-food systems. And here we automatically understand that when we are talking agri-food systems, we are talking of the farmer, but we are talking of land. We are talking of the people who are in the value chains. We are talking of different blocks of these value chains leading, people who are converging, people who are producing, the retailers, the suppliers, and finally the waste management. And that is it's not quite a circle, but it is the linearity which we have to look at. Now, the issue really is, very simply put, this whole agri-food system is under tremendous pressure. There is a pressure to produce food for food security. There is a huge pressure for biodiversity because there is a loss of biodiversity. There's a huge pressure on desertification and natural resource management. And on top of all that, the most important thing, the smallholders do not have the economy of scale. Therefore, their livelihoods are suffering. So agri-food systems, whatever they are, however you look at it, has to make some changes. And that's the strategy for FAO with 4 betters. So we are looking at better production practices, better environment, better environmental practices, watershed, to soil health, to natural resources, and more importantly, to better nutrition. And this is the nutrition model. I'm so happy to see this happening in Telangana, because that is another area where there's a lot of difficulties with the soil and the terrain. And people have to take different actions to bring this convergence model together. For what? For the 4th better, which is better life. Who doesn't want a better life, and certainly required. So that's the strategy and approach. That's the principles. The rural development program here is a small component. FAO has a number of programs across the world. The Great Green Wall is a very good example because it looks at livelihoods approach across. Then we have the harvest, the sub-Sahara forest projects, the digital 1,000 digital villages. These are, let's say, not all concrete solutions for one problem. There are multiple solutions. As we say, there are multiple doors, many doors opening to the same direction. And that goal is food security. So we have to look at everything. We have to make sure that we are taking people together. And from my point of view, smallholders first. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ghosh. I think, yeah, there are multiple doors. And okay, so Mr. Bob, restoration and sustainable management of degraded lands are critical for achieving global food security. How does Nature Conservancy incorporate these elements into strategies for nutrition sensitive agriculture?
Thank you. Well, as I mentioned, but we, like others, have been thinking about systems change. You might think of that as a country level. Many policies are set at the country level. You can think of the global system, which obviously needs to evolve, change to respond to those challenges, the current situation. So we've initiated about half a dozen of what we call foodscapes. So places like the Central Highlands of Kenya, the upper Midwest of the United States focus on row crops, working in Northwest India to, among other things, move away from burning off the crops and adding to pollution in the capital. And as we know, there's various ingredients that go into creating a successful outcome at place. We've just heard a very encouraging description at one place. So you have to address the science, you have to figure out how to work with the smallholders, you have to look at things like what's the crop selection, and then what kind of methods are appropriate. Is it cover crops? Is it rotation crops? Is it shifting from full-on tillage to what in China is called conservation tillage or low tillage? And then what about the policymakers and what policies are holding back progress? What policies could be started to accelerate progress? And then I almost don't like to talk about subsidies. It seems like almost an artificial distinction. The point is that agriculture is so basic to human life that, of course, there's money in the system. There's money that's invested. There's money that flows to livelihoods for people. There's money that's exchanged in the purchase of food, and there's the value chain and so on. But then you have the question of when you have public support for agriculture, how do you roll out that support? What over the mid and long term would be more effective for all those people, the growers, others involved in the value chain, the consumers, and so on. So there's a lot of work to do there. But again, I don't like to refer to harmful subsidies. The people receiving them probably think they're great. They may be incentivizing things that don't work for the whole picture. So you need a lot of dialogue for people to see a vision. And we've heard in other sessions, you need things like farm use tenure rights for women so that you can have the vegetation left year after year to where those microbes and other things grow in the soil. I remember I was at an online session connected to the then upcoming UN Food System Summit. And I knew both of the FAO presenters. So one was a woman who's a distinguished scientist, and so she sets the stage. It was awful. I felt so sorry for her because she kept reading off these really long numbers of FAO reports. So these reports set the stage, but by the time you got to the end of the number, you forgot what she was talking about or what are we trying to achieve. So I was suffering physically sitting in front of my screen listening to my friend describing that. Then another friend comes on, and so he's in charge of the Global Soil Partnership. Well, he starts showing slides. So these are magnifications of life below the surface. And there's a lot of creatures, so to speak, that grow down there. And if you give them more natural food, because you leave something at the end of the harvest, or you don't till down so far, then they keep growing. It looks like a horror movie and so on, but it's actually life. So we need to find ways to manage these bigger landscapes so that life can come back, and then that life of the soil will give us the food we need.
Thank you. So I will come to now Dr. Victor. So Dr. Victor, you as a global research program director for EST, my question is very specific to you. How Convergence Model has addressed the dual challenges of rural transformation and also the malnutrition of the communities, vulnerable communities. Yeah, how it has happened.
Yeah, thanks, Dinesh. But I think the answer is not just for the global program director. It's whatever we've done collectively. Basically, what we are looking at in this convergence model is more of community resilience and empowerment. Because I think we've had a lot of projects, and once, communities, as we know, farmers, they know this is a project, something external coming to us, whatever is there, let us take it. And once it ends, that is it. So this is a project that we have where that has a very, robust exit strategy, but also looks at sustainability. Now, the main basis, as Dinesh already mentioned, is looking at local production, you're looking at local processing, looking at local consumption, and ultimately the local ownership. So I think you will not miss anything here. Now, of course, we have the production side where, we'll do the hand-holding to make sure their yield gaps are addressed. We use varieties that are more resilient to climate change and are more high yielding, that farmers can get higher incomes. Then, of course, there is also the demand side, because which is the market that is being addressed. And the beautiful thing here is that it has been institutionalized. We got institutional markets, like in the case of India, we have the Angawali centers, the daycare centers, where there's a ready market, for these products. And of course, we are also working with the tribal affairs department and the department for child and women. So every institution is involved. And that makes it, of course, supported also by policy, So that's how it makes it listen. And I think in some of the projects that we have, you don't have all the three coming in. That's the demand side, the supply side, and policy support. And then, of course, linked with markets. So I think what has made this beautiful is that issues, and then it's looking more like a kind of a social enterprise, where the farmers, feel highly connected with this. And that is what leads to the total transformation within that kind of community. And it's very, very context specific, which is what we need, the kind of solutions we need in this era of challenging global food systems. Now, I think we've been able to get that done, of course, in Telangana and several other states in India. And I think it's got to the stage where we need to move it. I think we can contextualize this in other parts of Africa, which also we are working on, engaging several other donors. Now, one good thing about it is that when we start a project, we handhold these women's collectives or farmer collectives for a period of about 3 years. We all know one of the challenges farmers have is that they don't normally take the farming as a business. And this is where, and sometimes it's very challenging. So that's where we're looking at handhold them, do have the farm record keeping, and also in terms of the processing, how to run the machines, how to do the daily accounting and all that. And then after 3 years, we now make sure that we've trained them. And then that is the exit strategy for this project, which is what is most challenging. And we can definitely transfer this to other parts of the developing world. And that's what we're really looking out for. But certainly we cannot do this alone. And we're looking up for partners to come on board to work with us, particularly in terms of government, private sector. Like we said, we had a Walmart Foundation supporting us in one of the states in India for that, where we set up these primary and secondary processing centers. So it also comes with skills development. And definitely, most importantly, is that it brings out the distance to create jobs, and then we also have the backward and forward linkages with industry, but also within the sectors, agriculture, nutrition, entrepreneurship, but also health. Because in the data that Dennis presented, you saw that we are measuring anthropometric measures, stunting, wasting, and all that. So I think that sets the stage for us to work collectively together in either the drylands, but also in other parts to move forward with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So wait. So I will come back again to you before moving to other speakers. Right. So we were talking about agri-food systems, right? And before coming to that, I would also like you to throw some light on one of the initiatives, which I know is Smart Food Initiative. So you can speak briefly about Smart Food Initiative. Also, you can tell us about how your research programs have helped in agri-food systems, building agri-food systems, some of your experiences at ICRISAT, and also throw some light on your new upcoming Smart Food System initiative.
Yeah, so Smart Food is actually a branded initiative of ICRISAT and partners. So it's any food, basically mostly looking at some of the ICRISAT mandate crops. So we have the pigeon pea, chickpea with the pulses, but also the traditional grains like millets, sorghum. And then, of course, there are other things like vegetables that could also fit in. So it fulfills 3 criteria. The first one is that we say that it is good for the farmer in the sense that, they provide, they are high yielding, climate resilient and high yielding, so that farmers can get enough income out of them. The second criteria is that it is good for you as a consumer because they are very nutritious, and then of course good for health and also on nutritional outcomes. And then the last criteria is that it's good for the planet. So we're looking at the environment. Mostly millets and sorghums and pulses have very low carbon footprint. They don't require too much water or fertilizers. So this looking at issues that also look at addresses biodiversity and that. So any food that fulfills these 3 criteria in terms of the nutritional outcomes, in terms of the environmental stewardness, and also making it for the farmer, but also climate resilient, then addresses all these global challenges. The beauty of it is that you are all aware that certainly in terms of staples, they are not in the mainstream staples like rice or wheat, but we all know the challenges in terms of the future. We are looking at 1 to 2 degrees increase in temperature by 2050. Also, we're looking at elevated carbon dioxide levels of up to 750 ppm. Now, some of the work that we have done shows that there will be reduction in micronutrients, especially of some of these crops. And crops like rice and wheat will be more affected compared to the traditional grains like millets and sorghum. So we also see them as the future crops, in terms of climate change. And yeah, so what we're trying to do again, of course, in trying to improve particularly the demand side, is to come up with some of these recipes. And I think Dinesh show some of them this ready to eat, ready to cook, to increase the appeal. So there's a lot of more of promotional work trying to come up. Sometimes we have cooking competitions and things to strengthen the promotion and consumption of these nutrient-dense crops. So that's one. And we are partnering with institutions like, in the case of Asia, we have APARI. We also have KURAF in Africa, FARA, FANPRAN. And recently we launched the Smart Food Africa in Harare during the 15th CADEP, 20th CADEP meeting. And we're also trying to bring on board ODA, NEPAD, and also YPAD in terms of particularly the youth to bring about some of these innovations in food product development, but also in terms of the marketing. So that's by way of smart food, and we can always share additional information on this. What was your second question?
So I wanted to know about agri-food systems. Has ICRISAT some of the success stories?
Yeah, so success stories, I think we have one, I think those of you were probably here in the morning. So I think in terms of agri-food systems, the main issue is to have more of a landscape approach. And I think this morning, those of you who were here must have seen what we have done in the Bundelkhand region of India, where, the water tables were so low that people had to migrate completely out of these communities. And then with the landscape approach, looking at engineering combined with, community resilience and initiatives again, we've been able to, come up and then do, because in these areas, we are talking of 300 to 400 millimeters of rain per year. So the main only option there you have is water harvesting. And with the water harvesting, we've been able to do that. And then, of course, re-engineering to bring the water tables up to the extent that now water is available throughout the year, and people who migrated have now come back to settle in. And once you have the water in, then, of course, the nutrient management comes in, and then the value chain development comes in. So now markets and everything are coming together. So I think that's one of the beauties that we've had, because you start with of course, the varieties. You also have to get the right varieties. My colleague Sean is here. They are looking at short duration varieties that addresses the climate, but all has to be in this kind of landscape system. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Victor, for taking us through and throwing some light on smart food, which has the future food. So
I wanted to jump in. Can I?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So thank you very much. And the more you were speaking, the more I was shaking my head. Yeah. These are so many things that we all need to figure out all together. Now, that's we here. I just wanted to thank ICRISAT for the partnership that we are having with them in terms of really making that kind of sustainable changes within the landscape systems of Saudi Arabia in the southern parts. Now, the southern part of Saudi Arabia is subtropical, but very little rainfall, but they grow millets and they eat. There is a lot of production and use of millet, both culturally, they grow coffee, etc. And we, thanks to the ICRISAT, have received germplasm, improved varieties, biofortified varieties, Parbani Shakti, which the farmers are approving and loving. And the strategy was to look more, as I said, livestock is very important. Fodder prices are very very increasingly growing high. So some fodder perennial ICRISAT products, and then some for the food products. And so far, very encouraging. But the question always remains, are we looking at the big picture? Are we looking, how far will this production go? What changes will it bring? Can I bring in young people into this farming system? And the answer is question mark. I have to find every time better opportunities for the youth and better opportunities to be able to sell the potential looking ahead. And here, there we need a convergence. And I want to use the word convergence in that context. Our farmers everywhere apparently are 54 years old. I don't think so. That would be me. That is more than that. So, and they are all moving away from farming for better opportunities, better lives. So how are we going to bring our young people into farming? How can we improve the miracle agriculture and food and agriculture is? You see, I did one very vague calculation. I think there are about 190 professions that are covered by agriculture. That's from lawyers to laborers, scientists to astrophysicists. Everybody does agriculture in some form, except we don't even mention it, and we get sort of converging around farms and farming systems. So maybe we have a challenge here, not just to transform the agri-food systems, is also to transform the way we present agri-food systems, to present to who we are talking about. And that makes a difference to attract the young people. Everybody is here with one phone and they want the food in the phone. That's where we are. And how to get this food by phone. And I personally really think this is one convergence we need to look at. Obesity is part of the triple burden with stunting. Obesity is rising. So even if you have food security, you don't have food security. You have to be in the hospital with your diabetes, rising diabetes, including in India, one of the biggest diabetes capitals of the world. So there we are again, back to the circle. So it is incumbent on us, all of us, to change the way we are even looking at this, to attract the best of minds, the best of policies, the best of approaches. I very much like the foodscapes approach. I think this is something I will promote also, because maybe that will bring together the people that we want to work together in terms of throwing in the best challenges. It is numbers, to be honest. It is all about numbers. But sometimes we like to think it is not really numbers. It is also heritage. It's also tradition. It is also managing the landscapes and the greenery and the beauty. But farming is a very difficult profession without the numbers adding up. And that's where we have to make the difference.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you.
No. So it was great insight, Dr. Ghosh, and we would be looking forward for more such collaboration and partnership with you. I will come back to you again. Maybe I would like to come to Bob. So Bob, you have traveled more than 80 plus countries, right? And you have done a lot of work globally. So I would like to have one question to you. What lessons can be learned from TNC work in China and other regions that could be applied to enhancing resilience in semi-arid and resource-constrained environment? So what learnings can be adopted here?
Thank you. I want to make some personal comments too, but I better respond to your question before I forget it. So I think our team, which is women-led and mostly women in China, is doing fantastic work, working with the state-owned enterprise, with the agricultural institutes, particularly with the local farmers, and just like the scientists here, the practitioners here, showing that there's things that can work better. You talk about China, so the Nature Conservancy is a member of something called the China Council for International Cooperation on Environment and Development. So we just did a one-year study together with Chinese partners on implementing the global biodiversity framework. And it's so interesting. One world-class Chinese thought leader on agriculture, he says, the environmentalists need to think like the people in agriculture, and the people in agriculture need to think about the environments. But anyhow, we went through various struggles and discussions and came up with recommendations for China's leaders. And along the way, one Chinese professor says, well, in China, agriculture is always context specific. And I think that's true wherever you are. But I think the main thing we're showing, and we have a professor here that we work with, Professor Dong. He's probably the leading thought leader and practice instigator for grasslands in China. It used to be that 90% of the grasslands were degraded. Now it's only 70%. So in other words, they're coming back through working with the local herders on different kinds of rotational practices that can allow the grasslands come back, doing reseeding and things like that. So I think, you know, at one level, literally working on the ground, just like you did. And at the other level, going to the policymakers and saying there's some things can change. I think in terms of smart farming and also attracting young people, attracting women, making opportunities. So one thing that I observed in China is you have, like you said, farmers leaving the land. Maybe in Japan, the farmers my age. So they retired and they moved to the city because what? The grandchildren are in the suburbs or something, right? And so they simply abandoned their farms. So now in Japan, there's more wild animals than there have been in hundreds of years because they have these nice farms. Nobody's on the farm. The animals own the farm. So, but in China, you have the older people, they followed the grandkids to the cities. And so then they turn over the land, the use area, to the consolidators, which are more like corporations. And the corporation model is 10-person teams. So that team takes on a set of practices and applies them to the consolidated area. And the team is led by a team leader. And it doesn't matter the team leader is a man or a woman. So it's a kind of gender equity that's evolving due to like the demographics and the economics, not because somebody said there should be gender equity. So I think that's interesting, but there's also a lot of transition to smart farming. So there's the hope that the smart farming, using your device, your mobile phone, which has, you know, so much more power, and the young person could do 100 times what I could do with that phone, but also in changing conditions, need for changing practices, ways of multiplying extension. This SOE that we work with through our partner, they have all these experimental and distribution and extension areas. So they become a multiplier. So in a sense, it's modernizing. So now here's my joke. So it sounded like you said that millet and sorghum are more climate resistance, and they also have more nutrition. So then we have, you know, 60% of the global calories come from either 3 or 5 major grains, right? And so including those are wheat and rice. So I like to eat things made with wheat, like cupcakes or something. I like rice, but my Chinese acupuncturist told me don't eat those things. Have lentils instead, and of course, different kinds of vegetables and roughage. And, you know, so I'm so fascinated by today's discussion. I want to write about 5 books, and one of them is Personal Efforts for Health. So last 20 years, I had about like 20 different health episodes or journeys. So I want to write like 1 page for each. Then my middle sister, who's a health coach and a registered nurse, then she could write 2 or 3 pages of scientific information and advice. So thank you for that thought.
Thank you. So my question to Dr. Ghosh, I would like to ask you how you see the role of partnerships, and can you throw some light on it?
Yes,
Yeah.
before I go there, I have to say something because now I am really fired on this one. You see, we talked about all the changes and using the mobile phones for everything. I really think mobile phone is fine. Technology is very important, but the skills are even more important. I don't think we are teaching the skills required for the future farmers. I think we are not there in the education system where we need to make those changes to adapt to these new systems, new changes. Even the basic soil microbes, you talked about microbiology. I am told a 1 spoon holds 10 billion microbes. Nobody knows about it. Nobody knows how to deal with it. Not even the scientists of today. You said you were a generalist. Great. But you are a scientist first, and then you became generalist. But so I really think we have to look at the education system if we want to transform the agri-food systems as we are talking about. Small time arrangements of market access, etc., will work. But when you are working through a mobile system, changing the shifts, are we really ready? Are we really teaching the skills that we need to do? And that's where partnerships will be a very important role. If it is all tech, okay, we have to have the tech partners. But where is the general agronomy for tech? Where is the general soil microbiology for tech? Where is the business for the farmers? And really, the skills, the very basic skills that are needed to till a farm or to run a livestock, which a herder knows, a fisherman knows, a beekeeper knows, we don't. We don't anymore take value in those areas. And that's where the shift is also necessary. So it's a triple challenge. It's a challenge at the ecosystem level. It's a challenge in the food security level, and it's a challenge at the education level. So coming back to the point, there will always be small areas of grand success, but there are vast gaps. And these vast gaps require that investment and some encouragement to really cohese and think together. Without those changes, we are really going to spend more time trying to look at small with smaller impacts and not the bigger shift that we want to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would like to ask Dr. Victor. Uh, Dr. Victor, you have, implemented a very great model of convergence in India. Now, what message can you give to the audience and other stakeholders if they have to adopt similar model elsewhere? I know that you are also going to implement similar model in other parts, but what message can you give to other stakeholders, how they can adopt this convergence model?
I think I've already summarized this. Most important is that you have a very strong, community sensitization. Yeah, that must come in, and through that community sensitization, also you need to undertake a needs assessment. What is really needed in terms of the gaps in the food systems? And once that is identified, before you can come into design, because the convergence model is context specific. Yeah, the principle is there, but it must be context specific. So you need to know which partners need to be brought on board, or how you can institutionalize it. So again, like we say, we're talking about local production, yeah, local processing, local consumption, local ownership. So that's the principle behind, and you need to do a needs assessment in each community to be able to find out what are the dietary gaps, what needs to be addressed. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about in the case of India, they were looking at, using the policies and all that. If you go for a place like West Africa, it may not be necessarily the same pigeon pea. You may have to probably talk about cowpea. So you have to see what is really within, because we are not going to change the food systems. It's about trying to adapt and improve what they already have in that system. And then which partners do we have on board to be able to come, and then the institutions, and as well as the policy environment. So all must come together in a context-specific distance, and that's probably this. Of course, we as ICRISAT are always available to provide the necessary technical support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'm sure that there will be other partners who will be looking forward to join hands with us to implement some of the similar models in other parts of the world. So it was very interesting discussion we had. I would like to request if any of the audience if they would like to ask or throw some questions to the panelists over here, please feel free, and the floor is open for discussion. Any one of you, if you want to ask something. Maybe you can tell about your name and organization, and then you can ask the question in brief.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Tatenda. I'm from Zimbabwe, from a company called Sesame Zimbabwe. I would like to really appreciate the discussion that we have been having. I think it's opened us to what we are really trying to achieve. I think we're in the early stages, of introducing sesame in Zimbabwe, because what happened in Zimbabwe was most of our smallholder farmers were doing cotton and tobacco and the traditional grains, which is mainly maize. But because of the drought effect, the maize is no longer doing well. And we are looking at tobacco because of the environmental impacts in terms of deforestation. Some of the farmers are now moving away from it, and some of the farmers have already destroyed the wood loss to be able to use it. So we then introduced sesame to the farmers as on a two-fold basis. Number one, to reduce the liability of the farmers on tobacco production in terms of their income. So it was more of a sustainable crop as a replacement crop. Number two, to replace the cotton, because cotton is no longer doing well also. So in our first year, we managed to contract 3,000 farmers whom we've given seeds to and whom we hope to off-take to. But our biggest challenge is when we're recruiting the farmers to join the program. I think we had more than 15, 20,000 applications, but we did not have the capacity. So probably my question to you, to everyone in the room is, what can we do to improve the financing side of it so that we're able to reach out to many farmers, because sesame has potential to actually then further participate in the value chain, into opening processing plants, into improving the health and nutrition, and generally to make the livelihood better for the women and the youth. And for our markets, we don't have the problem probably that we were talking about, whereby the old people are the farmers. For countries like Zimbabwe, where the unemployment rate is high, most of the youth finish school and have nothing to do. So if you actually give them an option to say this can be done, we can actually recruit more women and more farmers into the process. Yeah, so I think that's probably what I need assistance on.
Yeah, well, I think that's a very excellent approach, because I think we are all looking at issues about gender equity, youth inclusion, and we all know the challenges of youth in Africa and other developing countries. So I think what you basically need here is partnerships. I don't know what is it an NGO that you is a private sector? Yeah. So one of the things you can do, because what I've seen is to try to initially, because if you want to look at development at the same time profit orientation, you have to go for a social enterprise model. That one allows you to be able to access funds, through the development angle, to complement the list that I do. And there's a lot of funding these days that you can. I don't know if MasterCard is in Zimbabwe, but probably you can do that. But talking about sesame, the gentleman at your back, you probably want to talk to him after here, because we have some germplasm as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe you can connect with Dr. Sean after this session. Anyone else? If anyone has any query or question, or they would like to share something, otherwise I will request the panelists if they have to add something more.
But you are aware that we have an office in Zimbabwe, Matopos. Yeah, Sesame, there's something you can talk to him. Yeah.
So,
I just want to say that sesame is also, we have also received germplasm of sesame from ICRISAT here. Sesame is also grown here in a small amounts, but it is grown. But you have to be very careful of introducing sesame. Is it a new introduction crop? Is your business model? Did you prepare the business model for it? It is a special crop. It is considered in a rain-fed crop and but it's a very niche and special crop. How much sesame do you need in the world? I mean, you have to. If you have market, that is the crux. And I know Middle East, there's a lot of use of sesame. There's also in Asia, I think India, Sudan, they are the top sesame producers. So some economic modeling would be very important for the sustainability. Otherwise, they'll all get away with their phone and never come back. Thank you.
Thank you. So I had the pleasure in the months in the run-up to this convening to connect with a group called Child Trust International, and they work in a number of countries and particularly with youth. And so I'm reminded by our discussion here how all of us have the opportunity, and I think if we care about the future, the obligation to really connect with youth. I appreciated those remarks about the different kinds of training and education and how do you inspire that. I have a friend who used to be with the U.S. Millennium Challenge Corporation. Now he's secretary for the International Cotton Advisory Council. But anyhow, just before he left his last job, we got together and he was telling me about their investment in police. And one of the things they were investing in was teaching regenerative agriculture throughout the secondary education system, which then could inspire interest in more specific areas like microbiology and agronomy and so on. And one thing I do almost every day in my personal life as I meet young people and I ask, what is your dream? So many really engaged and highly educated people in this session, I assume on the line as well. And we see how you can make your way in the world satisfying yourself because you're exercising and even developing yourself while contributing. So I think we all need to leave here ever more engaging with youth, inspiring them to come into this kind of global mission that we're sharing about here today. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for such a wonderful discussion here. And I think we have reached to the close, but we had a very engaging discussion and there has been a lot of outcomes. I'm sure by this discussion, we are going to build more partnerships and we are definitely going to work together more. And thank you all for taking out time coming here. I would like to thank all the participants here and attendees to taking out time for this session. Once again, I'm Dr. Dinesh Chauhan, thanking you all from ICRISAT. Thank you. Yes. What time?